Plaintiff Swansetta King says she took her children to the defendant's daycare until the defendant's employee lost her 3-year-old daughter, and she was found wandering the streets. Swansetta claims she pulled her children out of the defendant's daycare after this incident, and she's suing for emotional distress. Defendant Vivian Brown has provided child care for Swansetta for years and claims she has a habit of making side deals with Vivian's employees to babysit her children on the weekends. Vivian insists she is not responsible for what happened because it did not happen during daycare hours, and she's countersuing for defamation.
All right, start with you.
I took my kids to Mrs. Brown daycare, and she had an employee that worked there, was very irresponsible, and lost my 3-year-old daughter at the time.
Lost
her for up to an hour. Yes, she did. She did not know what she had.
It was a building?
No, her employee took my child to a barbecue, and she lost them. Well, my other 2 kids, too.
Took them to a barbecue?
Yes, sir. On March...
Off the premises?
Off the premises, away from the daycare.
Did you know that they were going to be leaving the premises?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you gave permission for
Yes, she called me at home, and I gave her permission.
Did she take an entire class or something?
No, she took my 3 kids and another set of 3 kids that were there at the daycare.
How was the child found?
A witness, a neighbor, seen my child in the area crying, distraught. Anything could have happened to my child, Your Honor. And the witness that had found my child wandering around crying, not knowing where nobody was, she said she at least went around for 30 minutes, 30 minutes looking for, who my child was with, looking for me. She didn't know who we were. They had to go door to door and see who was my child with, and they found the person who she was with after an hour.
How long has your children attended the daycare?
They've been there since about 2009.
Any other problems?
Not really, no.
So
Not
did
many
you
problems,
speak
no.
to the defendant about it?
Yes, I did.
What did she say?
She was apologizing for what her employee did. My kids did not go back to their daycare.
So that's why you're suing for emotional distress?
Yes, sir.
And ma'am, what do you want to tell me?
First of all, Your Honor, I'd like to start from the beginning. I've provided care for Miss King for several years. I've come to know Miss King. I mean, no disrespect to you, the court, or the plaintiff, but Miss King is a weed smoker. And I say that because she came into the daycare.
You don't mean no disrespect to me and her.
I don't, because I'm saying this.
That sounds as if you're saying, I'm one and Dora one and she. How you going to lump us together?
Okay.
So you don't mean no disrespect to her?
So I don't mean in disrespect to her.
Don't put me in there.
Okay. For saying that. But I would like to say.
I don't smoke no weed. That's Dora and her. That's between her and Dora.
Okay.
Go ahead. So you don't mean disrespect to Dora and her. Okay. They smoke weed.
All right. First of all, Miss King, I have a sign in and out sheet, is a Monday through Friday parent, along with her CCDF voucher, states that my employee did take Miss King kids from in front of my daycare. Miss King did not come to my daycare, was never on the premise, never entered to daycare. And I have
this
a police.
Wasn't a day that
it wasn't a day that she was correct. Here's a statement from Miss Taylor stating that Miss King very much was aware that this was not on daycare hours or time. In January of 2010, I fired 2 employees for the same thing. Miss King taking her kids to their home, dropping them off daycare hours and time, and I have
taking them to whose home?
Their home. She's soliciting my employees to watch her kids on weekends.
At their home?
At their home.
Not at your place?
Not at the daycare. Okay,
so you don't mean no disrespect to her?
So I don't mean in disrespect to her.
Don't put me in there. That's between her and Dora.
Okay.
Go ahead. So you don't mean disrespect to Dora and her. Okay. They smoke weed.
All right.
Plaintiff Swansetta King is suing her former daycare provider because she claims the defendant's employee lost her 3-year-old daughter and she was found wandering the streets.
The child never came into your establishment?
Not that day, no.
Ma'am?
No.
Your Honor, that is not true, okay? I dropped the child off in the daycare.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
That's a lie. All the time.
That's a lie.
And And who was the employee?
This young lady, her name was Kimberly. We are not
Kimberly
friends.
Taylor. You have a statement right there from Miss Kimberly Taylor. I also have 2 more statements from the ex-employees I fired in January for the same thing.
Really?
Yes, sir.
From Kimberly Taylor. I called Miss King and asked her if I could watch her daughters because I was going over to my sister's house, and my sister has a daughter the same age as Miss King's daughter. She said yes, they could go. She was well aware that we were not on daycare hours. I did not know where Miss King lived, and she did not know where I lived, so we met in front of the daycare and never went inside of the daycare. What happened was truly a mistake. I have been working in daycares for 10 years. Miss King did not tell me that Lele would run off until after this happened. She said her mother said she was always running off when she go to new places. I told her I wish I had known that before. Because she was in my... Okay, so this person is saying you all never even went into daycare. Say you met on the outside.
No, we didn't, Your Honor.
Well, that's what she says. How do I know who to believe?
Right here, I got my vouchers, and right here, Miss Brown is open 7 days a week. Your vouchers indicate
what?
She's open 7 days a week.
The question is, did you bring your child and check your child in there for care?
I was scheduled to work at 4 o'clock that afternoon.
All right. Was she paid?
Miss Kimberly,
Was she paid?
I don't know if she was paid that day. I didn't swipe in that day.
What do you mean you didn't swipe in? What does that mean?
The simple fact is that...
What does swiping in mean? Checking in the child?
No, you swipe in your card. That's CCDL.
To do what?
To make sure that she gets paid for her provider.
Why didn't you that day?
Because I wasn't scheduled till 4 o'clock. Mrs. Taylor called me about 12-something that noon and asked me. She asked me, Miss King, can the kids go to a barbecue at my sister's house? I said, yes. She said, could you bring the kids early? And I said, yes. I brought the kids early and dropped them off, went inside of the daycare and dropped them off.
Why didn't you swipe it then?
Because, Your Honor, it would have been too early to swipe them and I would have went over in my week.
You didn't swipe because she wasn't supposed to be there, Your Honor.
Right, I know.
Why.
I don't believe you, ma'am.
She never even told the police that she worked at a daycare or nothing. Right. So I got the police report right here.
What do you want that to prove to me?
I'm proving what I'm saying.
You just told me it happened. You just said the same thing. You took your children there early so that they can go to the barbecue somewhere outside of her premises. But had nothing to do with her business. You weren't taking your child over there to be there in that daycare facility.
Yes, I was.
No, you weren't. You just said you knew.
Your Honor, they was going to be there later on while I was at work.
I got you. Your counterclaim for $3,900 is for what, ma'am?
For defamation of character.
And by the way, these other people, Donetta Cooper, I lost my job due to Miss King's lies. She would call and say she needed some time before she went to work to get her head straight. I knew what that meant.
That's not true, Your Honor.
When Mrs. Brown found out one weekend on Saturday that Miss King's kids were at my house before 6 p.m. when the shift started, I got fired that morning for having the kids at my house babysitting them. What's your defamation claim, ma'am?
Defamation of character for filing a false complaint with the licensing people, which pending had my licenses and all of my CCDF vouchers and pending.
Why do you think she would file it if she didn't?
Because of the incident. That's why.
But if she knew it wasn't legitimate, why would she file a complaint against you? In other words, if she was doing something underhanded with one of your employees, it doesn't make sense that she would then file a complaint against you. It makes more sense that she would just back off and be quiet.
Well, she filed a complaint against me because she had other reasons. I guess she felt like...
Oh, set you up for a lawsuit.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good point. Donetta Cooper, I lost my job due to Miss King's lies. She would call and say she needed some time before she went to work to get her head straight. I knew what that meant.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Plaintiffs want Setta King is suing her former daycare provider because she claims the defendant's employee lost her 3-year-old daughter and she was found wandering the streets.
Why aren't you suing the lady that lost her?
Thank you.
Because I don't know where she is.
You don't know where she is?
No, sir.
All right. Well, when you find her, then come back. In the meantime, your claim is dismissed. I'm not convinced. I believe like these three employees say, you would call them, try to get them to care for your children at their homes to circumvent paying this woman.
True.
Claim is dismissed. I'll grant you your judgment, ma'am, for unpaid daycare fees and defamation. $3,900. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
That is not true. She's a liar. Oh, God. She lied. She lied, Jackie.
I have no hard feelings for her. I wish her the best, but she knows that she was not on my daycare time.